friends, I'm Erin, and this is Erin Go Live. Welcome to a weekend reading vlog. Just need to throw this ball real quick. It is Saturday morning, about 8 o'clock. It's April 15th, important day. And my parents are coming home from Hawaii late. Oh, I'm not talking to you. My parents are coming home from Hawaii late tonight, so I have one last day of just being alone in my house. So it's gonna be kind of a work heavy front half of the day, or like middle of the day, maybe from like 10 to 3, let's say. And I need to get some house stuff done. I'm possibly gonna mow the lawn. It'd be nice to get the dog mess picked up and the lawn mowed before my parents get home, so my dad doesn't feel like he needs to do it tomorrow. And then just a little bit of house cleanup kind of stuff. So that's a good audiobook day after a reading morning. So I have been reading She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan, and I am a little over halfway through this at this point. But I have, book club is on Friday, and I haven't started that book. And we'll be reading, well, I already read O Pioneers. We're doing two Willa Cathers, O Pioneers and Death Comes for the Archbishop, which I got these amazing copies at a used bookstore. I got O Pioneers, Death Comes for the Archbishop, and My Antonia in these beautiful, beautiful editions. So I'm about to start this right now. Be listening to this on audiobook, and then I'm going to be starting this as soon as I stop chatting to you. So this is about a priest, Father Jean-Marie Latour, and he goes to New Mexico. He is American by birth, or by, like, you know, technically he's American, but he is Indian, Native American, and Mexican by culture. And he has to contend with, like, the landscape, and it sounds like some not so honest, not so good priests, and just whatever. And so it sounds like it just follows like 40 years of his life as being the priest of this, in this small village in New Mexico, and dealing with what comes with that. So interested in getting started with this morning, and just getting more into Willa Cather's writing, because I've not read O Pioneers twice. There's a discussion going on in my book club chat for those of us who've finished O Pioneers about the ending and the extent to which something happened. And is it the full something, or could it be a lesser something? If you know, you know. But anyhow, I should stop stalling and actually get to reading, and then I'll get back to listening to this I'll probably listen to this actually when I take a shower this morning. So lots of audiobooking is going to happen today, that's for sure. All right, it's Saturday evening. It's about 8 o'clock, and I have unexpectedly finished She Who Became the Sun today. I walked to work, I walked home from work, then I was doing a bunch of different things around the house, got the refrigerator cleaned out, did some food prep, that kind of thing, and managed to finish She Who Became the Sun via audiobook. So this is, I feel like I recognize this to be a great book, but I just had an okay time with it, if that makes sense. So ultimately, this is a amazing story, historical. It's historical fantasy, but like the fantasy part is like just such a smidgen of it. It's really more historical fiction than anything. It's also a gender bending retelling of the person who started the Ming Dynasty. He came from nothing, this peasant who went to a monastery, became a monk, and then rose among the ranks of the Red Turban rebels. So this book reminds me of Star Wars meets the Poppy War, and we have a similar kind of like orphan character who goes to a school or a monastery and learns their trade, and then a war starts and they rise among the ranks, right? But then in the political scheme, we have the Mongols and the Red Turban rebels, or like the Empire and the Red Turban rebels. So the Mongols dominated China at the time, and with the rise of the Ming Dynasty, the Red Turban rebels overtook, then the Ming overtook the China. I think I'm saying that right. So I had this like idea in my head. This is how I kept it clear in my head, was that the Mongols were the empire and the rebels, the Red Turbans, were the rebellion. Like, like the Luke Skywalker side of things, Luke versus Darth Vader kind of situation. Then, so like the main setup, I'm gonna put this down. The main setup for the book is that our unnamed female character, and when she's very young, the very first chapter, her father, she has a brother, and it's a father with a boy and a girl, and he takes him to a fortune teller, and she is fated to be nothing, and he, the boy, is fated to be great, to achieve greatness. Well, bandits come and kill the dad and the son, and now only she is left, the unnamed she. And so she decides that she is going to take his fate. She will become Zhu Changba, and goes and sits outside this monastery for like 4 days, waiting to just be taken up and taken in by the monastery, assuming the role of her brother, and with the idea that she will achieve his fate. So there's the whole, my favorite part of the book was that early part where, before we get into the like political military machinations, that young part where we're really getting to know her character. The pronouns are interesting in this book because she refers to herself as she when it's the narrator voice, but she is pretending to be a he, so she is referenced as he. So that took like a little bit of just like mental gymnastics a little bit to kind of figure out who we're talking about. Not to mention, I personally have a hard time with when any culture that is outside of my own that has names that are very different, I can have a hard time figuring out who is who. And so that's a little bit of the part, especially like the political part of it, makes it a little bit hard for me to follow sometimes, which kind of just unfortunately takes away my enjoyment a little bit, just because I'm trying, like, if their names were like Dave and Joe and Jerry, I think it would have been easier to follow, but because they're just not names that are like in my repertoire, it makes it harder to follow. I hope that makes sense. So we have like the rebels, the Red Turban rebels, which is like her side, and then we have the Mongols. And on the Mongol side, so she's this woman who is pretending to be a boy, and then grows up to become a man, and is a general in this army. And then on the other side, we have this eunuch, Uyang, and he wasn't a Mongol, but his entire family was killed. And then he was the lone survivor, made to become a eunuch, and was kind of raised this like slave soldier thing who rose among the ranks of the Mongol army. And he's very close with one of the main guys in the Mongol army. And there's some interesting queer stuff going on between them, and just like the whole like gender fluidity or like ambiguousness. And then there's this interesting like connection whenever Uyang and Shu see each other. I feel like I'm not explaining this super well, but it's very much queer. We have two kind of storylines that go in those directions. Very much gender, speaking about gender and non-binariness. It's very much historical fiction, a little bit of fantasy. It's very, very light on the fantasy side. I definitely think if you like the Poppy War, you will like this. It's less, I think it's more political, less fantasy, but it's not as dark as the Poppy War. I personally still prefer the Poppy War, and actually I really need to read the last book. I still haven't read, I don't have the last book. I need to get to the last book of the Poppy War, and this is kind of making me want to do that. So anyhow, that's the wrap on She Who Became, scared the dog, on She Who Became the Sun. So I'm really glad that I read that. It ended in a place
where as much as parts of it bored me, and it's the political part of it that just like, I loved the relationship aspects of this book. It was the political military stuff that just was really slow for me. But it ended in a place where I was like, okay, I want to read the sequel, because this is going to be a duology. So, you know, I think probably like 3.5 stars for me if I'm going to give it a star rating. So in other news, I'm going to get back to Death Comes for the Archbishop by Willa, Cather. I made it through chapter 1. Yeah, the preface and chapter 1 this morning. So also it's going to be a late night. My parents come home from Hawaii, their Hawaiian cruise tonight. Their plane lands at like 11:30. So it'll be like midnight by the time I'm really picking them up. So I don't know if I'm going to go to sleep and then wake up and go get them, or if I'm just going to stay up. I'm not sure yet. I guess I'll have to see how sleepy I get. It's 8 o'clock right now, and I feel pretty peppy. So we'll see. Although once I start reading, we'll see how peppy I actually am.
Good morning, friends. It's Sunday morning, about 9:45, and gosh, it's that late already. I've spent the last hour working. With my nutrition coaching company, the company that I work for, about every quarter we do these 6-week challenges. And especially the very beginning of the challenge, we run the challenge mostly through our Facebook group. And at the beginning of it in particular, we have people post their pictures of their meals, or asking questions, or trying to figure out how everything works. And so we have to be, as coaches, like really engaged and try to be right on top of it. So people are getting answers, you know, as in real time as possible. And then I have VIPs, so people who upgraded to have a one-on-one coach for the 6-week period. And I have questions from them. So I've just been fielding questions and all that. I feel like it doesn't feel as much like work if I can do it on my phone, but there are certain things I can't do from my phone, and I have to pull out my computer, and that makes it really feel like work when I actually have to get onto my computer. So I hate working on Sundays. I try to not work on Sundays at all if I can, or very much limit it. So I'm trying to like, all right, I'm gonna like cut the phone off, because it's like Facebook, right? So if I go on social media, I'm gonna get pulled into the work stuff. So I'm gonna try to set myself some limits today, and basically not completely ignore it for the rest of the day, but let my other coaches kind of chime in. I'm on the West Coast, so I will take the West Coast lunch shift basically. So I'm not gonna check my phone again until like 1 o'clock, something like that. I'm going to give myself, you know, a 15-minute limit or so, and then, you know, get on and get off. And I'll do the same thing for dinner tonight, because it's my Sunday and I already work 6 days a week. So this is 7 days a week. So I need to just like set some boundaries for myself and do the things that I need to do to recharge. Because yesterday was a full work day. I don't normally work that much on a Saturday. Yeah, I worked from 10 to like 4:30 yesterday. And so, I mean, that's, you know, almost an 8-hour work day. If you include my commute, which was the walk, it was a full 8 hours. So I deserve some time off today, dang it. So anyhow, I'm going to get off the phone, leave that alone, and get back into Willa Cather's Death Comes for the Archbishop, which is just really like quaint and lovely right now. I think am I still in the second chapter? No. Oh, it's annoying. When the book does the like book 1, book 2, book 3 thing, and then the chapters restart. And then I hate it when a chapter starts mid-page where it doesn't give you like the whole page break. So I'm not going to forget about chapters at this point. I'm 57 pages in. I started reading this last night. I ended up, when I signed off last night, I was going to read, and then I got distracted by social media, ended up making a reel about like related to or in response to a comment that someone had made. Maybe I will put that reel right here. Hey, so I just posted this picture of myself looking longingly, forlornly at the cookie aisle, hoping that I could find some 0-calorie cookies, which is not a thing, unfortunately, and I am in a fat loss phase. Well, I posted this in my stories and also on Facebook, and I got an interesting comment back.
So a friend from high school says, oh, for heaven's sake, you work out probably harder than I do every day. You can indulge and buy a pack of cookies if you really want to stay balanced. Okay, well, first of all, she actually doesn't know how much I work out. Maybe I am currently working through an injury and can't work out as hard as I normally do. That's the case. She doesn't know this to be true, but she's assuming. The other thing is, I am in a fat loss phase right now, which I had stated in the original post, which means that I have a particular calorie goal that I'm trying to hit. Now, yes, I could make cookies work for me, but by not having the cookies, I'm actually able to eat more whole foods that are going to keep me full and satisfied, which actually makes this caloric deficit sustainable and possible to actually achieve my goal. So while yes, I 100% believe that you should be able to have your favorite foods, whether you're in a fat loss phase or not, if you are trying to achieve a particular goal like fat loss, you are going to have to make sacrifices. Specific goals may require specific sacrifices. And today, that sacrifice was cookies. And I'm okay with it. And bottom line, you can't out-exercise a bad diet. And then, because I got distracted making that reel, and that takes some time to actually put that whole thing together, by the time I actually started reading, I fell asleep, and thank God I had set an alarm to go remind me to wake up to go pick my parents up from the airport. So picked them up and then ended up, talking to my mom when they got home. My dad is sick. So he wasn't able to have the greatest time on the trip because he had a fever. So I just heard the thermometer beeping, so I'm not sure what his status is right now. But anyhow, all that to say, it's time to read. So I decided on a spontaneous hike. It's going to be about a 4.5-mile loop. I'm in Pilot Hill, California, which actually is, funny enough, a place I first heard of from an episode of House Hunters when they were looking to move to Folsom, this is probably 15 miles from Folsom, and definitely off the beaten track, considering I've lived in the area my whole life, save a few years here and there, and this is the first time I've ever been here. But it's beautiful, especially this time of year. I mean, in a couple months this is all going to be brown, so enjoying it now when it's all green and lush is really nice. So I have no idea. I don't think there's a body of water around here. I think it's just kind of these rolling hills and meadows. Lots of people out here enjoying the weather, and I am listening to Jenette McCurdy's I'm Glad My Mom Died. Pretty far into it. I'm on chapter 90. I'm not sure how much is left, but I also have Glennon Doyle's Untamed on deck as part of my People April reading. So I'm going to get back to that and enjoying this beautiful weather and view. So it's literally like 2 minutes later. That was the end of the book, actually. So I thought it was a really good book. It's a terrible story. I mean, you really feel for Jenette McCurdy and what her mom kind of put her through in order to kind of live out her dreams vicariously through her daughter, and the abuse, the emotional abuse, the eating disorder behavior, all this kind of stuff. I was kind of thinking it in comparison to Tara Westover's Educated, and I think it's similar in that it's good without being enjoyable because it's such a hard time that someone's going through. But I think this is maybe a little bit more self-aware and better done as a whole, actually, than Educated is. This building is the Love Comes Shortly movie set. I have no idea what that movie is, but it looks like an old shack.
This trail is called the Down and Up Trail. And it's kind of shaped like a lollipop, where there's a straight section and then there's a loop and you come back to that lollipop stick. So you have a choice when you first start which direction you're gonna go. So apparently I started going the easy way because it was basically all flat until I got to the river. And then ever since I'm coming back, I'm finding the up. There wasn't a whole lot of down. I guess if I'd gone the other direction, it would have been the down trail, but this is the up trail.
It's Sunday evening now, and as you'll have seen, I went for an impromptu 4.5 mile hike in Pilot Hill. It was just gorgeous between all these hills and everything. Went down to the river. That's the the South Fork of the American River. It was just gorgeous out there. And one thing that my recent travels has taught me is that I just need to, I love having adventure. I love being in nature, and I am surrounded by it. I live right in the middle, 100 miles from the ocean, 100 miles from Lake Tahoe, right at the base of the Sierra Nevada foothills. I need to get out and explore more in my own backyard. And so that's what today was about. So, done all my kind of Sunday afternoon, evening things. Ooh, I had a nice nap too when I got home. Yeah, I took a nice nap, so that was good. But now I'm going to settle down with Bicycling with Butterflies by Sarah Dykman. Back to her following the monarch migration on her bike, as I saw, fuzz in there. I saw a couple of really cool butterflies, including a really cool black and blue one that I got a decent picture of. And yeah, probably won't pick up Death Comes for the Archbishop. Again tonight, I'll probably fall asleep reading Bicycling for Butterflies, or read it till I'm sleepy enough to go to bed, rather. And then what else? Oh, I've been listening to Untamed by Glennon and Doyle since I finished. What else was I listening to? What was I listening to? I told you about it. I'm glad my mom died. It's already out of my mind. I'm already on to the next thing. Yeah, Untamed. It's interesting. There are parts of it that I'm a little bit like rolling my eyes at, but other parts like really connects. I think the parts that I'm rolling my eyes at are just parts that get a little bit too in depth into like feeling and spirituality kind of things that just make me like squirm a little bit. I have a really hard time when people talk about, specifically when they talk about God, but they're not talking about Jesus. They're talking about God in a Christian sense, but they're not talking about Jesus. That always like ekes me out a little bit. And then I kind of feel like they're trying to make God fit into their worldview and what they want him to be. So that I think that's the part that kind of rubs me the wrong way. That was just, so far, that was only a very small part of that. Mostly we're following both kind of her more current life and then the past life as to how she got there, including divorcing her husband and falling in love with a woman and having to decide to, whether or not to divorce him, whether to be with her, to do what is doing what is her truth, what is right for her. Is that ultimately what's right for her kids and her family? So interesting book. And if I was reading it, it's definitely a very underlinable book. I'm listening to the audiobook. I don't have it in physical form, but there's definitely some things. There was something particularly about fear. She was saying something like, I'm not afraid of fear anymore. Like, it's okay to be afraid, but I'm no longer scared of feeling afraid, or something along those lines. That one kind of hit home. I think I'm probably going to end up, dogs barking. I think I might probably look up quotes from the book that other people have noted. Anyhow, that's all for now. Thank you for watching. Remember, every day is a great day for a great day, all day.